It seems like plug-in hybrids are the way forward for high-performance sedans. There's the Volvo S60 and V60 Polestar engineered, the Porsche Panamera, the new BMW M5, and this, the Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG. So where does this new car stack up in a new world of high-power sedans? Let's go for a drive and find out. Unlike the Mercedes C63 AMG, this E53 doesn't use a 4-cylinder engine. In fact, it has 2 extra cylinders. It's an inline-6, a 3-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6. On its own, it produces about 400 horsepower, but with the aid of the electric motor, combined output is 577 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. At least that's the power that you get most of the time. You can option this car with a race start feature, which will bump up the power momentarily to 604 horsepower. That's 1 horsepower more than the old generation E63 S AMG. Mercedes-Benz claims a 0 to 100 km/h time of 4 seconds. With the race start, that gets dropped down to about 3.8 seconds. That does feel quick from behind the steering wheel, but in reality, having a roughly 4-second 0 to 100 km/h time is not really that quick. A Mustang GT can do it in roughly the same time. And the reason why this E53 can't go faster is because of its weight. This car is roughly 2.4 tons. In fact, it's almost 55 kilograms away from being the same weight as the BMW M5. But the M5 does have more power, over 700 horsepower. So this E53 is quick, but it's not as quick as it can be. But if you look past the performance figures, this is a pretty decently fun car to drive. The inline-6 engine is responsive and it does have power from down low in the RPMs right up to the red line, but of course the electric motor does hide some of its shortcomings. Sadly, it's not a very loud engine, and a lot of the noises that it does produce are enhanced by the brilliant Burmeister surround sound system. The fake noises sound great, but at the end of the day, they are fake. The 9-speed automatic transmission shifts gears very smoothly, and it is responsive as well, whether you stab your foot on the throttle pedal or use the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. But again, of course, the electric motor does hide some of the shift points. Steering is sharp, and it has quite a nice feel to it. It's a little on the hefty side. This car also has up to 2.5 degrees of rear-wheel steering to help with maneuverability when you're parking it. However, when you find yourself on more entertaining roads, this car doesn't quite have the same athleticism as the M5. The M5 hides its weight really well, whereas this one, you can still feel it a little bit. When it comes to stopping, the brakes do a fabulous job of bringing this much mass under a controlled stop, and it does of course have regenerative braking. But I think that the brakes do need just a little bit more fine-tuning. In the Sport and Sport Plus modes, the brake pedal feels great and it provides feedback the moment you put your foot on it. However, in the electric, comfort, and battery hold modes, the everyday drive modes, the brake pedal has a weird disconnect between regenerative braking and the actual physical brakes. You get very little resistance when you just need to lightly put your foot on the brake pedal to slow down just a little bit. It's only when you push harder do you start to feel a little bit more resistance from the brake pedal, and that's what I think needs a little bit more fine-tuning. In the electric and battery hold modes, you can also use the paddle shifters to change the amount of regenerative braking. This car doesn't have a one pedal mode, but the strong regen mode does provide quite a lot of stopping force from regenerative braking. However, you do still need to put your foot on the brake pedal to come to a complete stop. As for the electrical portion of this E53 AMG, it has a 28.6 kilowatt hour battery pack that is rated to provide up to 69 kilometers of electric-only driving range. However, if you're gentle with the throttle and limit climate control usage, you can squeeze more juice out of it. I managed to get 88 kilometers of electric-only driving range with an observed efficiency of 25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. As I mentioned earlier, the E53 has two primary electric drive modes. EV mode allows the car to drive on nothing but electricity at a speed of up to 140 kilometers an hour. If you press on the throttle pedal all the way down to the floor, then the engine will turn on in this mode. But you'll know when you get closer to that threshold, as the pedal has more resistance the harder you press on it. Should you want to save the battery charge, the battery hold mode allows for just that. It behaves more like a traditional self-charging hybrid vehicle, where at parking lot speeds, the engine remains off. But at higher speeds, the engine turns on to provide power and momentarily shuts off for brief periods. There's also comfort mode, which will use the electric motor to provide propulsion as much as possible, but harder applications of the throttle will turn on the engine. However, it does not require full throttle applications like the EV-only mode. As for driving with just the electric motor, it has plenty of power to get the heavy sedan going from a stop or to overtake a vehicle on a highway. Recharging the battery from a level 2 charger can take up to 2.5 hours, but the E53 is available with a DC 60 kilowatt fast charging option that will replenish the battery from 10% to 80% in as little as 20 minutes. When the battery is depleted or the car is driven in the battery hold mode, the Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG is rated to return up to 11.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 9 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. But again, if you are gentle with the throttle, you can get better fuel economy numbers. On one trip with a depleted battery, I managed to get as low as 7.3 liters per 100 kilometers. With consistent charging and 42% of my overall drive cycle for the week with the E53, I managed 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Being an AMG model, the Mercedes E53 has a firm but not really back-breaking ride. It doesn't match the feeling of isolation that the E450 provides, but in comfort mode, the suspension effectively absorbs most bumps in the road. Though you'll definitely want to swerve around the larger potholes or uneven manhole covers. In the Sport and Sport Plus modes, the ride is not too discernible from the comfort mode, but there is a little bit more jitteriness from the suspension. The seats have large side bolsters to keep you planted in them through corners. They have lumbar support with various different positions to target a specific area of your back, along with thigh extensions. But I personally found the bottom cushion to be a tad on the hard side. My butt did get numb towards the end of my commute to work. The cabin of the E53 AMG can get quite noisy as well. Road noise from the performance summer tires is obtrusive while driving on highways with porous asphalt or concrete. On city streets, it's not too bad at those slower speeds. Being powered by an inline-six engine, the powertrain is smooth. There are no unwanted vibrations, and the transition from electric driving to the gas engine turning on is seamless. The interior of the E53 AMG is very typical modern-day Mercedes-Benz, which means there's almost no physical controls apart from the engine start-stop button. Everything else is controlled through the infotainment touchscreen or through capacitive touch controls, which don't feel as great as individual physical buttons or toggle switches. The infotainment system is exactly the same as other modern-day Mercedes-Benz vehicles, so you can choose between a classic view and a more modern view, and a lot of the icons are nice and big, but you do have to dig a little bit through the system in order to find specific functions. The rest of this interior is exactly the same as the E450, which I previously reviewed, but of course it does have AMG lashings all over it. So the AMG steering wheel has suede where you hold it at the 9 and 3 position. It has the two dials at the bottom of the steering wheel to quickly change the drive modes or to change quick settings such as switching between manual or automatic shifting. And it does have these more sporty AMG seats with red seat belts. As for space, the E53 is, of course, very spacious up here in the front seats with plenty of leg space for my 6'4" height and just enough headroom. I did lower the seat to its lowest position, so I have just the right amount of headroom. In the back seats, it is a little bit snug behind my tall driving position, but I fit just fine. Unfortunately, the back of those front seats are made out of hard plastic instead of soft leather, so if you sit back there for a long time, you could get some bruised knees. The center hump is pretty big, and if you are relegated to the center seat, you also sit a little bit higher than the two outboard seats, so your headroom is not going to be good. But it does feel quite airy back there thanks to the extra sunroof, and you do get some sunshades on the side windows should you want to blot out the sun. In the trunk, the E53 AMG has 370 liters of cargo space, and you can fold down the rear seats 40-20-40 for a little bit more space. It doesn't have any small item cargo space underneath the trunk floor because the big battery for the hybrid system takes up that spot. So all in all, a very typical Mercedes-Benz interior, spacious, really nice to look at, but the functionality of some of the controls will irritate some people. The 2025 Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG starts at $105,000 Canadian, with this demo vehicle having an as-tested price of $128,600 Canadian. For the six-figure price tag, the E53 AMG is equipped like a proper luxury sedan. It has leather upholstery almost everywhere that you touch. The front seats are heated, ventilated, and massaging, with the center armrests and door armrests also being heated. There's also a heated steering wheel and heated rear seats. The dual-pane sunroof lets in a lot of light, and the 64-color ambient lighting system dazzles at night. Other features on the E53 AMG include a head-up display, available 4-zone automatic climate control, soft closed doors, a wireless phone charging pad, in-car Wi-Fi, and a selfie camera. I don't really see the point of that last one because I doubt that too many business people will be taking selfies with it. It would be great for security if the E53 is being used as an Uber, for example, but again, I don't see many Uber drivers using a car like this either. In the end, the E53 AMG has me feeling a little bit stumped. On one hand, it is an efficient PHEV with quite a lot of performance, but on the other hand, it's obviously not as comfortable as the E450, and despite it having pretty much the same power as the older generation E63 S AMG, this new car is slower than that older car. The weight really hampers the performance of this new one. So as a result, it's stuck somewhere in the middle. It's okay at some things, but not okay at other things. So it's not really good at any one thing. And that's what has me feeling stumped about it. Would I get one? Honestly, I'd probably wait for the new generation E63 and see how that car is like, or I would spend a little bit of extra money and get the BMW M5. But in the meantime, if you would like to know more about this E53 AMG, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.